Welcome back to the Fitness League, helping busy humans build strong bodies, sharper minds, and better lives. Join us each week as we cut through the noise, challenge the norms, and empower you to train smarter and live stronger. We have a very interesting episode for you today, as we're diving into something that impacts every one of us, your biological age and the pace at which you're aging. We'll be breaking down what those really mean, what speeds aging up or slows it down, and the exact protocols you can follow to take control of the process, no matter where you're starting from. You might be like me, feeling strong, living well, maybe even showing signs of a younger biological age than your actual one, but still somehow aging faster right now than normal. Those are some insights I have gotten recently from my whoop. At first it didn't make sense, but the more I dug into it, the more my eyes opened and I realized how applicable this is to all of us, whether you have any wearable tech or not. So today we are breaking down the two key concepts behind this: biological age and your pace of aging, what they mean, what drives them, and how you can shift them in your favor. And while tools like Whoop can track these markers in real time, everything we're covering today applies to anyone who wants to slow down the clock and start aging better, not just slower. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
I saw a TikTok of somebody saying that apparently it's the cool thing to do right now is to pretend that you're a podcaster. Like, people will literally like build a setup like we have here in their house and like talk to a camera and like not look at the camera and pretend they're like talking on a podcast just for content.
Like to look like an authority figure.
Yes, and I thought that was really funny. Like, they don't have an actual podcast. Like, people would like comment and be like, what podcast was this from? And or like, where can I listen to more? And it's literally, it doesn't exist.
Why don't they just put it on a podcast?
Right.
If they're doing it and pretend, like, aren't we all just pretending? We're all just building studios and talking in a mic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought it was
So
funny,
just upload it and you have a podcast.
Add that to the list of weird things people do for content.
Very strange. Well,
let's talk about aging.
Let's talk about aging.
My aging pace has drastically increased in the last month.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Nothing happening over here. Nothing to see. Nothing to see here.
I'm annoyed because my Whoop is health span. Is that what tells you your age?
So your age and your pace of aging? Yeah, as in if you click the heart.
Yeah, I need to log one more sleep to unlock that, so I can't share with you guys my biological age today.
You can share it tomorrow. It's interesting though. Like, this kind of triggered for me. I was trying to figure out what goes into these two different things, and it does make sense. So like the Whoop age, if you guys have heard any kind of biohacker, longevity, quote unquote expert, they're talking about their biological age, which is essentially Whoop age is the calculation of that they provide. So I ended up being 7 years younger, so I am technically still in my 20s.
Good for you.
But my pace of aging actually went up this past week from what it was even before, to a 1.5, which is accelerated aging. So I'm like, why the heck am I aging faster, but I'm 7 years younger? And it's basically to give you some foreshadowing into what we'll dive into. It's like the long-term trends versus like what you've done recently, which obviously decreased sleep. Like, we're on these damn phone calls till 9 o'clock every night. Don't fall asleep till 10 or 11. So the things are off, but it was very eye-opening as far as like, the short term doesn't kill the long term as long as we correct it and course correct that. So just kind of coming up with these accumulations and these things we can focus on, which is what this entire episode is all about. So I do want to start by explaining those two different aging metrics that Whoop tracks. And again, this isn't going to be built only if you have a Whoop. This episode is just giving you those correlations, and all the metrics are things we can all focus on, and that's what we're really going to unpack here today. But first one, Whoop age. So long-term biological age estimate. It's based on historical data, so HRV, RHR, so that's heart rate variability and resting heart rate, sleep quality, strain, and that's mental, physical, emotional, just based on, what your heart rate is doing, and your overall recovery. So you need to think about this as your health history report. If you've been doing the work for months or years, eating well, training smart, and sleeping well, this number is going to reflect that with a younger biological age. Now, the pace of aging is something that's actually updated on a weekly basis. So this is the more recent habits and trends and protocols and how well you've been adhering. Updated weekly measures how fast you're aging right now in this very moment. It's based on those short-term stress recovery balances. The way Whoop does it, it ranges from a minus 3x to a plus 3x. So accelerated is going to be anything more than a 1x, which means your Whoop age is increasing faster than your chronological age. Steady is going to be close to a 1x. Your Whoop age is going to be increasing at the same rate as your chronological age. Stable is a 0 or close to a 0x, where your Whoop age is likely to stay the same even as your chronological age increases. And then in the reverse, so aging backwards, less than a 0x, your Whoop age is likely to decrease even as your chronological age increases. So it's essentially your biological stress audit for the week. You can be fit, you can look great, and still be biologically sprinting towards burnout if your body is under too much stress. So if we don't course correct, that's when we're going to see that biological age kind of recalibrate. But if we see, okay, these things have been off, how can I readdress those? And then get yourself back on track, you're going to see that pace of aging slow back down, so we can ideally be aging in reverse.
I want to bring up a question that someone asked the other day on a Q&A about fasting. I'm trying to remember exactly what the question was, but it was basically that someone asked about a family member who was fasting, and essentially they were doing it for longevity, was like the outcome, like for longevity and aging purposes. And the, oh gosh, what is the word? What is the word? Why people do fasting?
Autophagy?
Of like autophagy. Thank you. I'm like, not apoptosis, which is like also kind of happening, but autophagy. Thank you.
Hip hippopotamus?
I was thinking of all of my like exercise science words. So autophagy is like a big thing that we hear about with longevity and aging. And basically what I put in my response was like, we don't have to fast for autophagy. Like, can you? Yes, but there might be some other detriments to that. You know what else is great for autophagy? Sleep. Getting enough sleep. Sleep quality. You know what else is really great for autophagy? Regular exercise, especially strength training, anaerobic training. All of those things are going to help our mitochondrial efficiency and our mitochondrial density and improve our insulin sensitivity and cardiovascular health and our brain function. These are all things that affect our aging pace, really, and our longevity. So I think that we're very quick to look for the extremes when it comes to, and we're seeing this right now with like the biohacking stuff, right? Like, what are the cool, buzzy things that I could be doing to improve my health and longevity? And we have not even gotten anywhere near like, are we just exercising regularly? Are we just getting enough sleep on a daily basis? And so I love these longevity talks, and I think they're really helpful, but also you can't biohack your way past the foundations if you haven't implemented those foundational behaviors first and foremost.
No doubt. And when it comes to fasting, I think what a lot of people don't realize is we can call fasting just a normal eating window.
Right.
It's sexier to call it fasting, no doubt. But ideally, if we're eating in this 8 to 10 hour window, you're technically fasting. It's technically intermittent fasting. But it's not this extreme thing where I'm only going to have one meal a day, which some people are big advocates for, or, you know, I'm not going to eat until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, there's actually some detriment to backloading your food for the day. So for those of you who do intermittent fast and you like to skip breakfast and start in the mid afternoon, then eat until 8, 9, 10 o'clock, well, that's going to tank your sleep. And that is probably the most important thing when it comes to not aging and when it comes to performance. So, you know, we need to think about all these things in context and in balance. If you start eating when you're hungry in the morning, I know a lot of you aren't, so this, you know, there's some wiggle room here, obviously, and you stop eating a few hours before bed, you're probably going to fall in that 8 to 10 hour window. If it makes you feel good, you can call it fasting, and it's going to have some really solid benefits for your overall health, especially if you are true to form in that 3 hour window before bed. We were at a birthday party yesterday, and it was like a weird meal timing schedule for us. We ate kind of before we left, and then we had a couple more things at that party, so we probably finished eating like 4:15, maybe even before that. Might have been a little before 4. But anyway, it was like we weren't quite hungry by our normal dinner time, so we're like, okay, I guess we're just not going to have our regular dinner today. I was a little hungry before bed, but I slept fantastic. Like I woke up once at like 2 or 2:30, but fell right back asleep. I hit my recovery zones. Was that why?
You didn't know he woke up last night?
I might have. I was still in a daze though.
Must be nice. Yeah, no, he got stuck like a turtle on his back and was pissed. And so I had to go flip him back over and he went right back to sleep.
That
But yeah, he
stinker. I
woke
would
up
have
at
slept.
2.
Would have slept through the night. That stinker.
Yeah, that was at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, but that was because of that gap. And I don't typically like to shut down eating that early. I might experiment that with a little longer term. So this is actually early time restricted feeding. But the point of that is you're not digesting as you fall asleep. So let's say you're digesting for another 5, 6 hours after your last meal. You're not truly at rest and recovering until you kind of get through that period, which is why we want to leave that buffer of a few hours before bed. But yeah, it's not a necessity as far as quote unquote fasting. A lot of times just eating in a normal window and not constantly eating throughout the day and right up until you go to bed. Like that's where we start getting into trouble.
And
So
listen, I have another example because we were on FaceTime whenever that night was. What was that, Friday, 4th of July, right? We were
Yep.
on FaceTime pretty late that night. And we went to bed a lot later that night too. And I remember we got into bed at like 10 o'clock or 10:30 or whenever it was. And we were both like, I'm starving right now. Like I was hungry. And I just wanted to share that because I think a lot of people would go eat something at that point and then try to go to bed. But hunger is not an emergency. Like I was fine to just go to sleep. Like I knew eating at that point when I was trying to fall asleep was not going to benefit me whatsoever. I did not need to eat anything just in order to sleep. So we went to bed hungry and that's okay. Like we woke up fine. We ate our normal breakfast. So I just want to reiterate that hunger isn't always emergent and something you have to act on immediately too, because I think that's where it sort of becomes a sticky situation for a lot of people, whether it's that situation or not. But yeah, that was I just wanted
You
to
guys
share
send
that.
some of that hunger my way, please and thank
yeah,
you.
a couple more weeks, you'll get it back. Hey guys, real quick. If you've been listening and thinking, I need to start doing something for my health, but I don't have time for a full program, that is literally why we built the SDE Method app. It's a fitness app made for real people with real lives. Busy parents, working professionals, anyone juggling 100 things. You can get in, get a smart, effective workout in around 30 minutes, some even closer to 20 minutes, and log out knowing you made progress. You can finally take the guessing out of your workouts. We have workouts designed to be done at the gym or at home, and you get access to all of them when you sign up. As life phases change, you can pick a new one that aligns better with what you have going on right now. And one more thing, we are also qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. So just hit the app link in the show notes, start where you are, we'll help with the rest. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, we're struggling over here.
And I understand, like I'm sympathetic to it as well. Like it's nice to just end the day on the couch, watch a show, watch a movie, snack on something. And we did that for a long time. Like that was just the norm. That was also the midst of some of my worst gut issues that I've ever had. So it does make a difference, but we're not going to continue to beat that. And you guys get the point there. Let's talk about some metrics that drive age, pace of aging. And these are specifically some things that Whoop measures. So I'm going to give you guys the breakdown, what they are, what they do. So number one, HRV, we mentioned heart rate variability. This is the variation in time between heartbeats. This reflects parasympathetic nervous system, which is your recovery state, that activation. And a higher HRV typically means better adaptability, more stress resilience, and better recovery. This can be driven through, improving cardio. One big component of it that is often overlooked, and someone actually asked questions about this in one of our Q&A episodes. They were doing a ton of stuff, ton of running. They scaled running way down. Their HRV improved. That's because it's a recovery metric, I would say more so than the cardiovascular, which we'll get into next with the RHR. But that's showing you're spending more time in that parasympathetic nervous system activation. And that's why when you train a bit less, if you were overtraining, you're going to see this bigger jump in that. So that's a big piece to consider. Next one up being RHR, resting heart rate. So this is your lowest heart rate during sleep. That's where they kind of trigger it. And the lower your RHR, that typically means better cardiovascular fitness. Your heart doesn't need to work as hard. Obviously, stimulants can impact this number. When you ate last is going to have a huge impact on this number. Your heart rate is going to stay elevated because you're continuing to work to digest that food. So it's a great metric. Again, you don't need, HRV is going to be tough, obviously. You can't measure your variation in time between heartbeats. But as far as RHR, you won't be able to get this as your lowest rate during sleep, but just pay attention to it throughout the day. Just as you're at rest, if you're working, you're sitting in your chair, you're at the office, just check it. Check your heart rate a few times a day and try to set that baseline to see it improve by decreasing slowly over time. Respiratory rate, that's going to be breaths per minute during sleep. Increases with illness, inflammation, overtraining, or anxiety. So this is more so reflective. You're not really going to, outside of focusing on recovery, you're not going to have a huge impact on respiratory rate. It's staying in that parasympathetic activation, focusing on reducing inflammation just with long-term strategies and protocols. And obviously, if you're getting sick, it's just going to be an indicator more than anything else there. Sleep metrics. So total sleep time, sleep stages, REM and deep, that's rotating through those cycles. Sleep efficiency. So this is how long you were asleep versus your total time in bed. So if you were asleep for 8 hours and you're in bed for 9 hours, 8 over 9 is going to be your percentage there for efficiency. Sleep consistency. So bedtime and wake time. Joelle was talking about this a few episodes back. It's not just how long you're sleeping. It's not just about time in each stage, but there's a huge impact on sleep regularity, that consistency. Are you going to sleep at the same time? Are you waking up at the same time? That in and of itself has a huge impact on your overall health. So poor inconsistent sleep is going to tank your HRV and recovery, and that's going to be a big factor in pushing up your pace of aging.
When I was at that conference in Houston a few months ago, there was a researcher there who works with Whoop, and her research focuses entirely on circadian alignment, like biological rhythm support. And she does a lot of the in the weeds research on circadian rhythm. And she was who I think because of her research and her role on the team, she was a big part of bringing, is it sleep? I think you get a sleep consistency score in Whoop. And she said, I think she aims for hers to never get below 85 or something, 85% sleep consistency. That was her goal metric. But she did this entire presentation on disrupted circadian rhythms, impairing our immune function, our hormone regulation, our metabolism. And this might not be what every shift worker wants to hear, but that shift work and really irregular sleeping and eating patterns are linked to a much higher increased risk of metabolic disorders, cancers, etc. So I think that that's very telling in a sense of I think it's just a very overlooked component. And I like that we're starting to focus on sleep regularity more, because I think we hear people talk about duration a lot. Is 8 hours from 1 in the morning till 9 a.m. the same as 8 hours from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or, 8:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. or 4:30 a.m., whatever. So I'm glad that we're starting to look at sleep regularity more and focus more on circadian alignment for people, because I think it's a really, really overlooked factor of health and longevity.
For sure. And again, to focus on the idea that you don't need to necessarily have the wearable, it makes it helpful, obviously more insightful, but you can focus on your total sleep time. You're not going to be able to measure sleep stages, but did you have dreams last night? Are you waking up feeling refreshed? Those are going to be indicators. Sleep efficiency, again, how often were you awake? It's going to be a rough estimate, but the easiest thing that you can track and is within your control is bedtime and wake time. And just doing that, keeping that steady, has a huge impact. So whether you're super successful with getting into that deep sleep or not, just focus specifically on that sleep consistency and let everything else build from there. And just focus on, improving sleep hygiene before bed. From that point, you can fine tune all the little things, but here's when I'm going to sleep. Here's when I'm setting my alarm. Pretty straightforward. Not always easy, but very straightforward. Something that is specific to the app. So recovery scores. This is daily and weekly. So basically a summary of HRV, RHR, respiratory rate, and sleep. And then consistently low recovery is going to equate to biologically aging faster. So that is one of the app specific metrics you're going to see in there. Those are the things that are involved in calculating that score. Strain versus recovery balance, again, also within the app, but you can kind of tell, were you really stressed throughout the day? How are you feeling? How are you performing? Are you getting stronger in the gym? So kind of a gray area here, more clear in an app, but you can still focus on these things. So if you are training harder than you're recovering, that's going to lead to an imbalance in your recovery. And you're going to notice that if you're constantly tired, if you're constantly irritated and stressed, it's an indicator you might want to scale that back a little bit, maybe program more rest days, slightly less volume. There's some different things you can manipulate there. But that imbalance is one of the most common risks or common reasons for high performing people to see a pace of aging come in really high. I would say mine more so is the irregular sleep for the past couple of weeks here, seeing mine go up. But again, these are things we can easily course correct. As far as lifestyle inputs, so things that are going to affect these things, And you can take this down in a journal. Just log these on your phone or actually write them down. And you could wake up and say, how do I feel? And kind of give yourself some stars for each day and see what those long-term trends look like if you don't have an app. But alcohol, late meals, traveling, differing time zones, blue light exposure, those are all things, they're not directly measured in the app, but they do affect the core metrics through recovery, through HRV, through sleep quality. And then on your own, those are going to be some things that have a huge impact on how you're feeling, how you're performing, how you're recovering. So just some things to pay attention to there, just low hanging fruit in those regards. Now, I alluded to at the top of the episode, I'm 7 years younger, according to Whoop, but I'm aging faster. So we've kind of alluded to this along the way, but to make it super clear, historical behaviors, historical protocols, the long-term data, in a sense, if you're not tracking, is just your body's taking account for this, is going to affect your biological age. Your pace of aging is basically your current stress state. So all the things you've done in the past week. And that's why, again, we are big on tracking. We have our own portal for online coaching clients where you don't need a trackable to do these things. We're just doing what we call daily check-ins, and you're going to log your sleep, your stress, your energy levels, your hunger levels throughout the day. We can see how you're performing in the workouts, if you're progressing over time, week over week, month over month. So we're taking count on this. And you could make a simple Excel sheet. You could do something in numbers on your phone. You could just take the notes down. But it's important, and the reason I say this is I don't want to overwhelm you with data and all the things you got to do and all the things you got to track. You might already be tracking food, but it's so important to not overreact. If something's working well and we just, we don't have a 6-pack in 2 or 3 weeks and we're like, oh, this isn't working at all, I got to try something else. You're going to jump from fad to fad and look for the next shiny thing. We talk about shiny object syndrome all the time. But if we can provide solid context, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not down 10 pounds yet, but my strength is going up. My energy is improving. I'm sleeping a little bit better. Maybe something's happening here. As sleep improves, testosterone improves. As that improves, we see a more significant jump in body composition. Little things that happen over time on the back end, in a sense, before we see them on the front end, before we actually see those aesthetic changes. So being able to pay attention to those things is so important. And if you don't have a place to log these, our client portal, just kind of coming up with your own system, get some ideas, some things you want to see improve, and just take notes on that over time to give yourself adequate information on whether or not your plan's working.
That clients make before they start working with us is they change their macros too soon, or they change up their training program too soon, and they kind of just jump ship because it feels like nothing's happening, when in reality, if we were tracking those behind the scene things and paying attention to all the things that you may not be focusing on, we can pinpoint, okay, here's what's actually happening. Your sleep is trending upward. And maybe you don't feel that energy boost yet, but it might be coming. You might be on the cusp of that. So I think that's also just my bias here, but like the benefit of having that outside perspective of a coach, we can often see the things that you may not be paying attention to that are actually moving the needle closer to your goals.
Yeah, it's really hard to be subjective about your own self.
We all struggle with it. And you could be in the best shape in the world and you can be your own harshest critic. So something that was working fantastic for you, like, no, I got to try something else. Or no, I need the injection. I need the magic pill. I need to do this thing. When you just got to stick with it.
It's funny. I don't know if any of you guys follow Steve Cook, just like old school bodybuilding.com, Steve Cook. I happened to see on his stories yesterday, I think, he posted like a picture of his, I want to say it was Aura data. I don't think it was Whoop. I think it was Aura data. And he got onto the next story and he was like, are there any doctors in my audience? He's got like millions and millions of followers. He said, are there any doctors in my audience or like people who specialize in heart health or HRV? My HRVs are so low. They've always been kind of low in the 30s. And now they're in like single digits and like teens. He's like, and I don't get it. Like, I'm healthy. I take care of myself. I don't drink, blah, blah. And he's like saying to his audience, like, can someone help me with my HRV? And like, he's a super, super fit guy. He's been in the fitness industry for a really long time. He's also got a baby. And he's like, he like pans over to the baby and he's like, the baby also like sleeps in our bed. So that might be a part of it. And I'm like, dude, your sleep is probably so disrupted if you have a baby, not just in your room, but like in your bed. That could definitely be contributing to your HRVs. But yeah, it was just all of that to say, like, you can be a healthy individual and like be doing a lot of the right things. And I don't necessarily think that you should panic if you do see data that's like, hey, your HRVs are in a great place. I think more than anything, the trends are really helpful. Not one specific day of data, but like, hey, where have things trended in the last 3 months? What has changed in the last 3 months? Have I been eating less? Have I been eating more? Have I been going to sleep later? Have I been sleeping earlier? Have I been more stressed than usual? Has my diet changed? And it's really, really hard to zoom out on all of those things without having someone point them out and there to be objective with you. So don't panic from the data either. The data is helpful, but the data is also only helpful if you know how to use it and respond to it.
Listen, if you're tired of the all or nothing cycles, the diet starts Monday, the I know what to do, I'm just not doing it feeling, we should probably talk. Our one-on-one online coaching isn't just about workouts and meal plans. It's about building something that actually fits your life. No cookie cutter templates, no guilt, just real coaching and real results. Plus, we've got a pretty big team, so we can even pair you with an expert who actually understands your lifestyle because they've gone through it too. If that sounds like what you've been missing, check out the link in the show notes to apply for coaching. Then we'll send you the link to book a free, no obligation consult call with our team. There are no hard closes. We won't even take your credit card over the phone. You'll get the details to sign up on your own time. And more good news, we are in fact qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. One last thing. We even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Spots are limited, so apply today. All right, let's get back to the show. So let's talk about how we can lower our biological age going forward. Let's come up with a roadmap. First thing we're going to focus on is our HRV. So we want to boost that over time. We're going to do that with things like zone 2 cardio, if we can get a few days of that in a week. Daily breath work or meditation. And again, this is to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. If we can start with a few rounds of breathing and then build that up to 5 minutes, and then ideally 10 minutes a day would put you in a great spot. And yes, cold exposure does help with HRV, as does the sauna. So those are some simple things that we can utilize. If you don't have a sauna, just hop in that cold shower first thing in the morning. Joelle.
I can't think of something worse than hopping in a cold shower first thing in the morning. There are a few things that just worse. There's not many things that could be worse than that.
And you don't have to do every single one of those things that Josh just listed. Like if you're not doing any of those things right now, pick one to start with, maybe two. Don't feel like you have to, we've talked about this time and time again, but feel like you have to overhaul your entire life from this podcast.
Exactly. Let's go back to that. We've talked about the rule of 2 when it comes to building habits. Make it so simple. It doesn't make sense to skip. So if you choose cardio, I want to do some more zone 2 cardio. Literally do 2 laps around the cul-de-sac. Get yourself moving. That's the benchmark. That's the threshold to start with. Once you've done that, and it might even be the first time, like, okay, I did 2 laps. Like, let me just jog to the stop sign and I'll come back. And just build from that. If you're doing nothing, anything is going to be a significant improvement. The breath work, again, can you focus on your breath for a minute? And then that's going to feel pretty good. So you might go to 3. And then next week you go to 5 and you slowly build that up to 10. Cold exposure, 30 seconds might feel like an eternity, but if you can get through that, you're in good shape. Sauna isn't going to be accessible to everybody. Maybe your local gym has it. Start low, start slow.
Right now, if you're in New England.
With a winter coat on. All right, the next one, we want to focus on lowering our RHR, resting heart rate. And this is going to be by improving our aerobic fitness. And specifically for this one, we really want to focus on that VO2 max. So that's going to be more HIIT training style. And the benefit here with HIIT is you can do a lot in a really minimal amount of time. When you're talking about getting some sprints in, you could be activating this for 5 or 10 seconds if you're just starting and come back down to a lower resting heart rate, recovery rate for a few minutes, and then spike that up for another 20 seconds. 30 seconds would be fantastic. You do 3 or 4 rounds of that, and you're going to see a big difference, especially if you're doing nothing. We want to stay hydrated. And that's not just water, but it's also getting those electrolytes in. And then if you notice, if you are a more advanced trainer, that cumulative fatigue is building up significantly, assess whether or not you might want to deload every 4 to 6 weeks. And you don't have to, especially if your training load isn't already super high. But if you are someone who notices like, okay, by the end of a block, I am shot, scale it back. It doesn't necessarily mean a week off, but just take volume back a little bit. Instead of 4 sets, drop it down to 3 sets or 2 sets. Maybe it's the intensity going from a 9 to a 6. Just 1 week of letting your body kind of rebuild, recalibrate, and reducing some of that cumulative fatigue. Not necessary for everybody, but it's a consideration if you are noticing some symptoms of overtraining. Sleep hygiene, something very important to optimize. So the simplest thing, set the bedtime, set the alarm for the morning at the same time every single day. It's usually pretty well within our control. Obviously, life happens sometimes, but for most of us, we can pick up the book instead of the remote, sip some tea, get ourselves ready to unwind and fall asleep at the same time. No screens before 90 minutes before bed is going to be a big piece of this. We're not great about that. We often do use a Netflix episode to unwind before we do the book, so we kind of creep in on that 90 minutes. But it does help. Big, big difference. And then if you are on the screens, throw on some blue light glasses, see if that helps a little bit. We talked about the red light hack on your phone. You can actually set that in your phone settings. It's a filter. You just turn the red all the way up, turn the blue all the way down. Ideally, you want to sleep in a cool, dark room. 65 degrees or so is a good number to aim for if you do have AC. And then magnesium glycinate is a solid supplement that can help calm you down and get you into those deeper states during sleep.
Team Lunar.
I was going to say, are you still taking the
You liking that?
gummies?
Yeah, they're not gummies. They're like chewable tablets, the Lunar. It used to be a really gross powder, and then they made it into like berry flavored tablets, and they're tasty, honestly. They're like they taste like kids' chewable vitamins. But yeah, I really like Lunar. It's a very low dose melatonin, like I want to say like half of, but it's L-theanine, which I really like. GABA, L-theanine, melatonin, and I want to say there's one other thing that I'm not thinking of. But I take that and magnesium, and I definitely see a difference in my sleep when I do take that. I'll take anywhere between 2 and 4 tablets, depending on how much sleep aid I think I'm going to need that night.
Is
But I
it
have
how
found it
fast
to
you
be
fall
helpful.
asleep? Is it the quality, like the sleep
I don't
cycles?
have a
What do you
problem
notice?
falling asleep. It's sometimes just staying asleep or getting into a deep enough sleep. And I'm finding that it's helping with my deep sleep, my REM sleep, and just keeping me asleep instead of being as tossy-turny during the night.
Very cool. It's been sitting
Granted,
in our...
I don't think there's any amount of Lunar that I could have taken the last few nights that would have really helped. But in general, I find it helpful.
We got it sitting in the cabinet. They sent it to you. You weren't sure if you could take it. Oh, you ordered it.
And I'm still not sure if I'll
And then
take
she was
it or
like,
not while I'm breastfeeding.
Yeah.
You know, the only one that's like is the GABA. I just don't know if that's...
Yeah, everything else would be fine, really. The L-theanine, the melatonin. I'm not sure about the GABA. I can't imagine that it's problematic, but again, it's one of those things where you're just like, I don't need it. Might as well err on the side of caution and just take it when you're done breastfeeding, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, next up, improving metabolic health. So we talked about fasting off the top. You can call it fast. You can call it time-restricted eating. You can call it just eating in a normal window. But keeping it around that 8 to 10 hour mark would be ideal. And ideally, on top of the ideal, would be starting this earlier. So don't wait until 2 o'clock to start eating. Oh, I'm going to eat from 2 to 10. Have normal breakfast and just go about your normal day, but maybe just set a shut off time. I go to sleep at 9. I'm going to stop eating dinner by 6. And I can guarantee you, if you guys eat right up until bedtime, you are going to notice a big difference the first time you do it. And you might have to scale it back a little bit, just recalibrating the schedule. So if you're eating until 9 right now, 8 o'clock for the next week, make it 7 o'clock for the following week, work it up to 6 o'clock for the week after that. And you're going to notice right off the bat, this isn't a delayed gratification thing. You will sleep better that night. Post-meal walks can be very helpful, even 10 minutes. And maybe you can't do it after every single meal. Obviously, we got a lot going on, but we're pretty good about the dinner walks. It happens most nights. Every morning we have the breakfast walk. We don't really do a lunch walk. Usually we're hanging out outside or something anyway, so we're moving around with the kids. But it's definitely very helpful as far as keeping those blood sugars stable. What was the study? It was more beneficial. The 10-minute walk post meal was more beneficial than the metformin, which is a diabetes supplement or diabetes medication. 10 air squats was even more beneficial than the 10 minutes of walking. So you don't have 10 minutes, just literally drop into 10 air squats, and that'll be even more beneficial than that.
I have type 1 diabetic friends, and my father-in-law is a type 1 diabetic, and have both echoed basically that like nothing helps their blood sugar more than getting up and moving, which makes sense from like just an insulin and like glucose utilization process. Like movement is going to help us use glucose that's in the bloodstream. So it makes sense that it would lower that. And it also makes sense that it would lower it sooner than something that is a pill you need to take to digest and so on. And metformin is like something you would take daily. It's not like, oh, when my blood sugar is high, I will take it. So if you have those moments of high blood sugar, like, yeah, movement is going to help.
Something that my family has always done, like on holidays too. Like I remember being really young at my grandparents' house, and after Thanksgiving lunch or Christmas dinner, like it's like, okay, everybody up, we're out, we're going for a walk. It's middle of winter, but we're going to go outside. And it was just something that was like the norm. And I remember like in those situations where you're eating a lot more food than normal, you're uncomfortable, like you go for a walk and you just feel better. So even if you don't want to do it for any other reason than just makes you feel good, like it really does. It's not this woo-woo thing.
That was one perk of living in the city when Brant and I were in New York City for like 6 years. Anytime we went out to dinner, like if we walked to dinner, or let's say we even took a cab or a train to dinner, we might walk home, and we just like, oh, let's just take the 20-minute walk home. You're just walking so much before and after all of your meals anytime you went out. But yeah, I remember always just feeling like sometimes we would have the option of like, oh, do you want to take a cab home or should we walk? And it was just like anytime we finished a big meal, it'd be like, let's just walk home. We know we'll feel better.
And then one more little component there for the metabolic health improvements, just focusing on protein and fiber-rich meals. This is also going to slow the absorption and that big insulin spike that you would notice post-meal. All right, a little bonus section. Not critical, not needed, but potentially helpful, as supplements are a supplement to everything else we're doing. Creatine monohydrate. This is going to support cellular energy and brain health, and it may help HRV and sleep. Something like a magnesium glycinate, again, to improve deep sleep relaxation. Glycine to help improve REM and deep sleep. There's also some backing for longevity support. Ashwagandha can be helpful in lowering cortisol, reducing anxiety. Berberine is great at improving blood glucose and metabolic health overall. And then something like a TMG or potentially an NMN to support methylation and NAD plus function for a longevity focus. But this is still early research. Interestingly enough, first of all, I didn't realize that Thorne is the brand. They have this MethylGuard. So it's methylated B vitamins I've been taking. It's helped with a lot of my symptoms and overcoming Barrett's esophagus. I didn't realize that it has TMG in it. I just watched a video by, I think it was Thomas DeLauer, actually talking about TMG for boosting or improving body composition, building muscle, burning body fat. It's a different dosage and it's still relatively early data. But I think longevity, you're taking this, I think it's 1.5 grams a day, and it goes to like 2.5 grams per day for improving body composition. So I reordered my MethylGuard, and I did order another one that's straight TMG to boost it up to that 2.5 threshold, and I'm very interested to report back. It's supposed to help with, I believe, creatine metabolism and additional water retention. So
what is TMG for our listeners who have no freaking idea what you're talking about?
Forget the full, it's weird because it's not TMG. What's that?
All I keep hearing is TMJ and like people like jaw pain.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's not what you're talking about, but that's just what's in my head because it sounds the same.
Well, I just figured like
wait, Josh has TMJ and Barrett's esophagus?
I actually don't have either of those. No Barrett's. It's been a while. So I don't know why it's, okay, I guess I do. It's known as, it's betaine, betaine. I don't know why they call it TMG, but trimethylglycine is a naturally occurring compound found in foods like beets, spinach, and whole grains. It's made up of the amino acids with 3 methyl groups attached, and it plays 2 big roles in the body. One is methylation support. Methylation is a biochemical process where your body adds a methyl group to molecules like DNA, neurotransmitters, and proteins, essential for detoxification, a la clearing out homocysteine. DNA repair, hormone production, cellular energy, mental health, and cognition. TMG basically donates methyl groups to support methylation, especially when other methyl donors like B12 or folate are low or demand is high. The second component is homocysteine regulation. So high levels of homocysteine, a byproduct of amino acid metabolism, are linked to cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and inflammation. So TMG helps lower this by remethylizing it into methionine, a process critical for brain health and heart health. In regards to muscle growth and performance, so this is still relatively new to me to break this down a little bit further. Cellular hydration and pump. So it acts as an osmolyte, drawing water into the muscle, very similar to creatine, and this may improve muscle fullness, blood flow, and nutrient delivery. Some studies also show small improvements in power output, strength, and endurance, most notably in trained athletes under intense loads. As far as additional benefits, it may support mood and mental clarity via those methylation pathways. It may help with fat metabolism and liver health, especially in those with fatty liver or high alcohol intake. And it does support the detox processes in people with MTHFR mutations or poor methylation. So interesting stuff. A few different things going on there.
I do remember, wasn't it like a thing that people were like, I don't know if it was beet juice or just beets in general. And like something, I remember hearing something about like beets and the pump and like, I don't know. I think it was beets.
It was beets, but it turned out the powder wasn't necessarily great because you actually needed the saliva and the enzymes to break it down to get the nitric oxide benefit and improving the pump and circulation, heart health. So drinking it wasn't very beneficial as opposed to actually eating beets.
Just but I think the juice is still better than I think the juice was still better than the powder, though. It's been a long time since I've looked at that.
Yeah, that was like way back, but I remember vaguely hearing something about beets. I love beets, for the record.
I feel like Coach Ari, one of our registered dietitians at Levolution, anything I've learned about methylation has been through Ari. She could probably come on and do a whole episode about like methylation. I feel like that'd be an interesting topic. So let us know if you want to hear more about that.
I want to hear more about that.
Okay. The people have spoken.
Well, to wrap this up, guys, thinking about your biological age being your long-term scoreboard and your pace of aging being your weekly accountability, you can absolutely have a younger biological age while still pushing too hard right now. So we just need to take account of what's going on right now, recalibrate when needed, use certain weeks as resets. And just a reminder as we sign off, change does not come in one big moment. It's built in the ways you keep showing up. So take what you learned today and build the best version of yourself for tomorrow. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
Joelle Samantha.
I'm at Josh Skutnik.
And everything else you need is linked in the show notes.